go ahead and finish these notes. And this is my favorite part. This is why I told you you're going to learn those awesome skills that I told you about. Now, here's the deal. I watch a lot of TV. I told my class I watch a lot of TV. It just, one of the good things about, one of the good things about being a teacher, I guess, I just watch a lot of TV. Okay? And all that being said, my favorite types of shows like military shows or like police type shows or investigative type shows, things that make you think a little bit, okay? Well, have you ever watched a show? Make sure you're not texting while I'm doing a lecture, okay? So, have you ever watched a show that, and you heard the terminology, hey, I'm going to triangulate that signal, or we're going to set up a perimeter or a radius around something. You guys heard that before? Yes. Okay? If you watch enough TV, or watch enough good shows, you can't find that on Vampire Diaries and, Pretty Little Liars. Pretty Little Liars, yeah.
That's a good show.
Maybe I'm Pretty Little Liars, I guess.
It was a good show.
We'll ask Drake. Last time he's watched it. Okay, anyhow, listen. They get that stuff from this right here. This is one of my favorite things. Because when they triangulate something, like if somebody breaks out of jail, okay, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, basically we'll take 3 big cities. We'll look at Houston, Dallas, and Austin. Okay, somebody breaks out of jail, Houston, Dallas, or Austin, and we'll say, all right, here's what we're going to do. Based on where they've broken out of jail, between those 3 cities, they're going to create a radius based on the rate, how fast they're traveling, whatever. And then what they're going to do is they're going to draw a line. So from Houston, Dallas, to Austin. Okay, I'm not geographically correct, but anyway, okay, they'll create this little triangle. And then what they're going to do is they're going to take this midpoint, and they're going to say, okay, he should be somewhere around here. But what they can do, essentially they're trying to pinpoint his location. But obviously people move. But what they can also do is they can circumscribe, okay, a circle around that, and they're going to say this. Say, all right, he should be in that circle. Okay? He should be inside that circle based on our intel, when he left, how he's traveling, how fast he's going. And so then what they'll do is they'll say, okay, people, we have X amount of hours to find him, right? Because what happens if we don't find him in that X amount of hours?
He's going to murder people.
Okay, he's going to get too far where?
Outside.
Outside the circle. Once you get outside that circle, your circle becomes exponentially larger, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger, making it much more difficult to find him. But the reality is, a lot of times when people run away or commit a crime or whatever, they don't really have anywhere to go, to be honest with you. Not immediately, at least. Okay? Think about this. If you accidentally did something wrong today, we're not going to go to the extent of murder, but let's say you got into a car wreck, okay, and you didn't want to fess up for it, and you drove away. Are you going to drive to Cuba tonight? No, you can't drive to Cuba to begin with, right? Because there's no.
Get on a tube and then.
But are you going to do that today? Are you going to get into a car accident and drive away, and like hide in another country? Probably not, right? Probably not. So what happens is a lot of criminals will hide in an area close to what they're familiar with, okay, until everything dies down. But that's how they get caught, because what happens is they create this perimeter and they start to go smaller, and they search it, and they get closer and closer and closer and closer until they can find their criminals. Now here's the other thing too. With this pinpoint location here, what they'll do with cell phones, they can trace. You ever seen people trace phone calls? They can trace a phone call because they have so many cell towers everywhere. And what they'll do is they'll triangulate your signal between those cell towers, and then they'll be able to pinpoint where you are based on that. Okay? And the cool thing about that is if you, again, I told you how to hide from the cops, okay? If you wanted to hide the people that are hackers, you know what they do? They send their signal from the phone. Now, again, you can't just do this with your regular phone. But they'll send their signal from their phone to all kinds of towers. They just keep moving them all around. Because that way you can't signal and pinpoint them. Because now you're over here, and then it's over here, and then it's over here. And they bounce their signal everywhere else. That's why they have these things called untraceable phones and stuff like that. You know, for the military and bad criminals.
Can you just take out your SIM card?
Yeah, you could take your SIM card out,
What's the point of even having?
but then you're not using your phone. My point is if you use your phone, you know what I'm saying? If you're using your phone, the people who use their phone that are untraceable, is that's what they're doing. They're sending their signal to all over the place. Because again, if I have a cell tower here in the United States, and then I send one to one in Russia, okay, and then I send one to one in South America, that's a huge area. You can still pinpoint it though, right? Because if you take the perpendicular bisector, perpendicular bisector, perpendicular bisector, where they all meet, that circumcenter is where essentially that phone call is being made. But then if I take it and I say, okay, well, I'm going to patch it through here, through here, through here, now I don't have a triangle anymore because it's going all over the place. Okay, so they can't triangulate that anymore. Okay, how you survive the woods if you get lost in the woods. True story. At my church, some of the guys in a small group, they went hiking in New Mexico or Arizona, I can't remember. Okay, and one guy who was a more advanced hiker than everybody else, he got really far ahead. Well, if you've ever been hiking before, and my extent of hiking goes to Cedar Ridge Preserve, but as you're going through the mountains and you're going through the woods and all that stuff, you start to walk, and there's a trail that you walk on, generally, but you start to see other smaller trails or other trails that are cut off that trail. And some people have cut those trails to go hunting or trapping or whatever they're trying to do. And so what happens is, if you take a wrong turn, all of a sudden you're off the main trail and you can get lost. So anyhow, this guy, he's hiking with this group, and then he's just good. He's in shape, and he gets way ahead of everybody else. And the next thing you know, he takes the wrong trail, and he's lost. They can't find him anywhere. And so they send 3 guys to find him. Okay, they end up calling the park ranger and say, hey, we lost a guy. Can't find him anywhere. Okay, so they send 3 guys out, search and rescue team. 3 guys, triangle, right? They basically essentially, now these people are experts at what they do, but they basically create that same idea of a triangulation. Say, okay, well, we're going to start here, here, and here, and we're going to work our way in, because based on his last known location, and if he's walking at X amount of speed, he should be able to only get this far, and then we're going to work our way inward until we find him. Okay? Now, here's the deal. If they don't find him quick enough, and he gets outside of this triangle or this circle, okay, he gets bigger, right? So, if you're ever lost in the woods, you just stop. Okay? Hopefully your people that you're with will be smart enough to call search and rescue. But you stop where you are, and there are people that are trained to do this very thing. You stop where you are and you sit there, and then they'll eventually find you by coming that way. And those 3 guys found that guy within an hour, I think. Okay, because the guy that got lost, he said, crap, I'm lost. It was getting cold, okay? So he just set up his tent and started camping and just stayed there and stayed in his tent to wait for rescue, because if you stay still, somebody's going to eventually find you. And so they did. They found him. Okay? So that's how we hide from the police. That's how we survived being lost in the woods. So how we survived the zombie apocalypse, okay, when it comes. Which it won't, yeah. Anyhow, but if it was, I was watching, and I thought about this because I was watching World War Z this weekend. I watched it for the first time.
Great movie.
And Brad Pitt's in the apartment with the Hispanic family, talking to them, and one of the things that he says to that guy, he said, hey, I've been in situations like this before, or countries like this before. You have a better chance of surviving if you do what? You keep moving. Because if you keep moving, you're increasing your circle, right? You're making it hard for them to follow you. Or not only follow you, but close in on you. Because if you watch these movies, with these zombie movies, what happens? It's not often that, hey, there's a zombie right there. Let's go. We're going to be okay. It's, there's a zombie right there. Oh, crap. Surprising. There's a zombie right there. Well, let's go. Oh, there's one right there. Oh, crap. There's one everywhere. That's what happens. They end up circling in. And we're talking about, obviously, a movie and fiction and all that stuff. But the reality is that moving, it's not to contradict what we're talking about. It's to say, hey, the reality is this, is by nature, we keep getting closer and closer and closer and closer. And so if we keep moving, we expand our circle. And if we expand our circle, then it's harder to find us and harder to catch us, okay? Just like when you're playing hide and seek. Once your friend passes you, you move, right? Okay, I mean, I don't know about you, but I never hid in the same spot. Like, I'd hide, maybe in a closet or whatever. And then once they passed me, I was like, okay, I'm going to move somewhere else now. Okay, and it's not necessarily that you're some master hide-and-seek person. It's just a matter of realizing that it makes it harder to find you. Okay. And there's the end of that notes if you needed that. So it's a circumcenter because you can circumscribe a circle that passes through the three vertices, making them equidistant from the center. And them being equidistant from the center is what? What are those segments called? They're all equidistant from the center of a circle. Yes, you do. What? They're not mid-segments. We're not talking about triangles.
Group segments.
The radius. They're just the radius, right? All those segments from the center of the circle to the outside of the edge of the circle, those are all radii, right? It's also on the board.
That's how I knew.
Yeah. And you did know that because now once I said it, like, oh, yeah, right. Center, outside edge, right. That's a radius. I know that. Okay, does everybody have this? Oh, should I do this?
No.
All right, last but not least. Yep. Is similar to proving like using a coordinate plane. So here we've created a triangle. Okay, pretty simple. I need to find the midpoints, right? If I find the midpoints of the first two legs, it's very simple. And essentially, if I find the midpoints of the first two legs, if I use the circumcenter, I don't have to find the midpoint of the third leg. It should just work, right? Okay, let's see this. Now we have 8 units up, so midpoint is at 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 units over, midpoint's at 1, 2, 3, right? So we should have points at 3 on the x-axis and 4 on the y-axis. So here's those points. If I draw a line through them, am I going to have perpendicular bisectors of each other? Yeah, one's horizontal, one's vertical. They're going to be perpendicular to each other. Now, luckily, based on this right here, look what happened. Did I need to do the distance formula to find this point here? No, because I did this one, and I did this one, and now I have a circumcenter. Okay? And now because I have a circumcenter, I can circumscribe that circle on there. And again, that's just using kind of a coordinate plane to prove the same thing that we just did. That works, because this is perpendicular to this, and this is also a perpendicular bisector, okay, of the other line that would go through here. Okay, everybody follow that? And that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot to it. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, you have about 12 minutes, 9 minutes, just kidding.